I'm sure others may join as we're talking. Tonight, we're going to just have a very, what I consider good discussion on some of the things that are going on in Montclair, but particularly that impact the Fourth Ward. And that's why tonight we're going to start off with the impact of the Essex-Hudson Greenway, a project that we've had a discussion on earlier, but I think this is a time to kind of bring it closer to the Fourth Ward, a little bit more of a condensed conversation. On top of that, we'll give you a quick update on Nishuane Park and Canterbury Park, conversation about the Glenfield Park, Glenfield Conservancy that's been out there, and then a final update from my favorite business owner in Montclair, Zena Floyd in the South End Business District. So I hope you all will enjoy it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn things over to our Commissioner, Brendan Gill, to kind of give an update on what is going on with the Essex-Hudson Greenway and its impact. And again, all I ask is please mute yourself so that Brendan can be heard by everyone. Brendan, are you there? Can you take over?
I'm here. So first of all, Councilman, thank you for having me here tonight and for your continued efforts and outreach into our community. I also see on at least on my screen, and I want to make sure to acknowledge her, our former Fourth Ward Councilor, Dr. Renee Baskerville, who had the long tradition of doing these types of meetings, and I'm grateful to see Councilman Cummings carrying on that tradition. I see our Councilor Bob Russo out there as well, and former Councilor Roger Terry. And if I missed anyone, I apologize, and please blame it on my head, not my heart. But I just wanted to make sure that I gave each of those individuals a special shout out for everything that they've done for our township. Just very quickly, Councilman, I think I'm proud to say that I think, and I will jump into the Essex-Hudson Greenway, but just very fast on our COVID response. I'm proud to say that I believe Essex County has been both a state and a national leader in running our vaccination program. I know that we, through your efforts, were able to bring our mobile vaccination program into Montclair on two separate occasions. Most recently at St. Paul's Baptist Church, to continue our effort both at the local, county, and state level to make sure that the vaccine and the vaccination is as eligible for everyone as possible. Oh, sorry, somebody just get a little feedback. I think somebody's. Thank you. We will continue those efforts to make sure that we're doing everything we can, both from a testing standpoint, a vaccination standpoint, a small business recovery standpoint, which I know you're going to speak about, here today, as well as providing aid to those who have really been affected by this pandemic. So we are approaching. It's kind of crazy to think about a year and a half now of doing food drives every week, a county-sponsored food drive every week. We've been in Montclair on multiple occasions, using the Charles Bullock School as the location, as well as other assistance, rental, mortgage, and really trying to help those that have been hurt the most, by this virus and by this pandemic as we continue to recover. So thank you to the township and your efforts for helping us to partner on all of that. I appreciate getting a couple minutes tonight to talk about a project that I'm particularly passionate about and think is a real opportunity, both for Montclair and for our county and our entire region. I know we have Deborah Kagan, who's with us tonight from New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition, who will also talk a little bit about it even more in depth than I can. But the project, and I think we've talked about it before, is called the Essex-Hudson Greenway. It is a 9-mile old freight rail line track that starts essentially around Bay Street in Montclair and goes into the surrounding community. So it starts in Montclair, it goes into it hasn't been used in quite some time. It goes into Bloomfield, Belleville, Glen Ridge, Bloomfield, Belleville, Newark, and eventually crosses the Passaic River and connects to Jersey City. And it really creates an opportunity for us because Norfolk Southern, who are the current owners of this line, are ready to sell this line. And what I'm a proponent of is, from a county perspective, and this rail line starts in Montclair, is looking at a way that we could potentially turn this rail line into a passive recreation trail, a passive recreation trail that would allow us to encourage economic development, that would allow us to continue to protect open space, and also give additional recreational opportunities for those in our communities that we know need it. So I know Deborah will talk a little bit more in depth than I will about the project, but I'm a proponent of this project because I believe that this is a once in a lifetime and generational opportunity. It's very similar to the High Line in New York. It's a similar type and style project. And if we collectively, I think, come together both here in Montclair and the other communities in Essex County and figure out a way to regionally approach converting this old freight rail line into a passive recreation trail, which would allow for walking, biking, cycling, all types of opportunities. There's no doubt in my mind that it would be a huge benefit, to our community. Of course, we want to do that in conjunction with, our local elected leaders. I'm proud to say, and thank you, Councilman Cummings, for your help, that, that the Township of Montclair has passed, a non-binding resolution in support of this project. This project is not new. It's actually, I should have said that to start. It's been around for a long time. So it used to be called the Iron, and it had a lot of different names. I think it was Iron and Ice Trail at one point. And we've had a lot of supporters out there over the years. Again, both members of the council and community activists who have put a lot of time into potentially trying to make this happen. So I'm really here tonight, again, to say, one, thank you for everything that you do. But most importantly, if we are to make this happen, this trail starts in the 4th Ward of Montclair. And as a lifelong resident, of this community, I want to make sure that if we're going to support this, and we have had the support, that we do that, in conjunction, with the community, that the community understands the potential benefit, that we have a debate around those, discussion around those issues. And hopefully we have consensus that this is something that we believe could be beneficial, not only to our township, but into the immediate ward that the trail starts in. So, so thank you for a few minutes, Councilman, and I'll be here to, again, take any questions as we proceed through this evening.
Commissioner, I really appreciate it. Thank you for the kind words, and also taking me off the hook for acknowledging all of the officials who have joined. So, I really appreciate that. I got them in, but you gave me acknowledgement, so that gives me a little bit of a break.
No problem.
Yeah, so what I definitely want to do, though, is make sure that we get right to this. So, Deb, are you ready to join and start and give the folks what they came here for?
I'll do my best. And thank you. I just want to thank you again for inviting us to the 4th Ward meeting, and to Commissioner Gill for joining us tonight. And to many of you here who have supported this project over the years, some of our council members and former council members, you did a good job, Brendan. So I just want to thank you and recognize there's been tremendous support in the past for many of you. Tonight, what I'd like to do is just take you through a brief tour of information about the Greenway project. We have not made a lot of decisions about design. I know there's always a lot of questions about that. Where we are at right now is really, as Commissioner Gill said, at a point where we're trying to have the corridor bought, the right-of-way would be bought from the Norfolk Southern Railroad. so that it could become a public park. So that's really our focus. I'm going to give you a little more information, and then I'm happy to have a discussion and some questions and answers. So I'm going to share my screen with you all. Got some slides to show you some pictures. So this is a view of the Greenway towards New York City. We refer to it as a linear park for northern New Jersey. And there's 3 organizations that really are the heart of the team right now that is moving this project forward. I am, as Councilman Cummings said, the executive director of the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition, which is the only statewide organization, advocacy organization for bicyclists and pedestrians. And the Open Space Institute is a national conservation leader, and they are the ones that are actually in charge of and leading the transaction to actually purchase the line. And the September 11th National Memorial Trail is also a partner. They've been very supportive in helping us connect with the railroad. And they're a trail organization. They're building a 13-mile system of trails that connects the memorial sites from 9/11 through New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York. Now I need a glass of water. Sorry, I've been talking all day and my voice is a little out. This is a basic map. You can see where the trail goes. So starting here in Montclair, there's just a really small piece of it, and I'll show you a close-up map in a minute, that goes through Montclair. But it's a very important piece because it's a gateway. It's the beginning. It then goes through Glen Ridge, across Bloomfield, up to Belleville, in Belleville Park, across Branch Brook Park, northern Newark over here, across the Passaic River into Kearney, across the Meadowlands and Kearney Marsh here, across Laurel Hill Park, just a piece of it over here in Secaucus, and then and just north of Journal Square in Jersey City. And you can see really there's a tremendous diversity both of communities and of environments across this. So we've got, this is the Benson Street Station, if anybody knows, in Glen Ridge. Of course, the iconic cherry blossom part of Branch Brook. This is in North Newark, the Tiffany building, the Kearney Marshes, and across here into the Meadowlands. And there's a whole lot of historic infrastructure here that we may also try to incorporate into the Greenway. So it's just almost 9 miles. It goes across the old Booton Railway, and has really, there hasn't been any freight or customer service on that since the early 2000s. Some of you may have heard of Friends of the Ice and Iron Trail. They were a local organization that was one of the advocacy organizations that really was pushing to have a greenway in this space for many, many years.
So on kids at school and at the park with their moms. And the sad state of the Republican Party. Now Biden's coming for your hamburger. It's the latest of.
Thank you, who's ever. Thank you. So there was a lot of advocacy along the line at the different towns. And at that time, the railroad was not interested in selling the property. So it was difficult to get any movement going. Around 2014, the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition really took on the project as a major project and galvanized support, getting resolutions from towns and pulling together a lot of the local advocacy organizations that were for this project. Working with the 9/11 National Memorial Trail, we began to have more conversations with the railroad and found out that they were in fact interested in finally talking about selling the property. So we reached out to the Open Space Institute. They are a real estate transaction and conservation organization. So they really are experts in the kind of legal and environmental work that needs to be done to prepare something like this to be sold. And they negotiated with Norfolk Southern, and in last year they came to an agreement to actually purchase the line from the railroad, but it was for a limited time. The first proposal was for 1 year. That year ended in January of 21, but we also had an extension for 1 more year. So we're now in this short period of time where we have an agreement to purchase the line, to create a greenway before Norfolk Southern sells it to private developers or any other entities. So that's why we say we really have a once in a lifetime opportunity to make the greenway a reality and to keep it intact as one continuous property. Here's some real quick facts about it. It could bring about 135 acres of new green space to over 500,000 residents within a 1.5 mile radius. It would provide transportation alternatives for what we estimate about 300,000 commuters overall. And that's people who could commute by bike, who could walk both from within their towns, from town to town, and also across the 8 miles from Montclair all the way to Jersey City, with the potential, of course, to extend that to New York City. Along with the agreement to sell the rail line, we also have what's called the subterranean rights. So we have the rights to the property underneath the rail line, and that means we can use that space for things like broadband infrastructure, bring in 5G and a whole system of broadband internet infrastructure that could be used by all the communities along the line. It's also about 100-foot wide for most of the space. That's actually a very large footprint for doing a project like this, and will allow us to think about all kinds of different assets that could be additions to the pathway, including things like playgrounds or bike racks, bike shop, all kinds of possibilities that could be developed in the long run on the project. It also has enough space for us to really think about using environmental design or green infrastructure to capture runoff and flooding problem. And it has possibilities for both a low impact green infrastructure like rain gardens, people have heard of, or bioswales, where you can capture the flooding water in a natural preserve area, as well as some of the more high impact, which is we can have space underneath on those subterranean rights we were talking about for storage for combined sewage overflow, which is a big problem particularly in a few of the cities. It also links to major regional networks. The East Coast Greenway would like very much to use this space as part of their connector through their a greenway that goes from Florida all the way to Maine, and the 9/11 National Memorial Trail, which goes through, as I mentioned, 3 or 4 states, and the Morris Canal, which right now goes through Bloomfield as well.
Hey, Deb.
Yeah.
Just real quick, because I had one question in the chat room, and that was, and this was from Jose. What is the extension into the Montclair area? I know we may talk about this later, but I just feel like since he put it in there, it's a good time to give you a break of where you are now. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I have a slide in 1 minute that I can show you the actual map.
Okay.
Would that work?
Sure. Keep going.
Okay. I'll just be brief. So there's a whole lot of benefits to a greenway project like this. Some of the most obvious we think about is the recreation and health. So the ability to have open space along this whole corridor goes through 2 of the most densely populated counties in the state, and to be able to have open space to run, to walk, to meet friends is really important. And particularly now through COVID, we've seen how important it is to get out both for essential exercise for our mental and for our physical health. It also provides off the street, safe walking and biking commuting options, especially for people who don't own cars. It's a commuting option that's more affordable. And it also gives opportunities for people who are in wheelchairs, for families riding bikes with kids. And it just gives us really alternate transportation options that would be good not only for our own personal health, but also for the environment. So the fact that this could encourage people to use their cars less, or if they don't have cars, to be able to have access to using biking and walking to transit, really would help us reduce car usage and congestion in the area, which helps reduce air pollution. And we all have heard that, of course, President Biden has set a goal of 50% reduction of gas house emissions for 2030. So this is the kind of project that will help us reach that by providing alternate transportation to using our cars. It also has a lot of environmental benefits. It's a wildlife corridor because it's intact. It allows us, as I said before, to have different green infrastructure to mitigate flooding. And in areas where there isn't a lot of tree cover, it gives us an opportunity to plant trees, which can reduce heat island effects, especially in the more urban parts of this, like going through North Newark. It also helps increase business activity locally. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. So this is a corridor that runs through many different communities and really gives us an opportunity to not only connect communities, but to build our communities locally. And building this space so that it reflects the identity of a local community, helps us build our identity, gives us a place to gather, to do programming. And as I mentioned before, Montclair will be a gateway. So this is the beginning of this trail. People will be coming here, will be coming from other cities, can come out at this gateway and visit our neighborhoods, visit our stores. And it should be an area that attracts people to this destination, to the Greenway. This is just some ideas. Again, nothing has been, we're not at the stage of designing and constructing this, but just to sort of give ourselves an opportunity to think about what the potential is locally for the Montclair community in the Fourth Ward. Having access to this could provide lots of opportunity for programming. I know that Crane Park and the Northeast Earth Coalition has done gardening demonstration, walkthroughs, and all kinds of activities in Crane. The same kind of things can also be true of this corridor. It gives us an opportunity for gardening education with schools, with Head Start groups, walking groups, and bird watching. Initiatives, say, for Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts to do tree planting and native habitat plantings, opportunities for senior walking and rolling groups, and space for art installations and collaborations with the art community. Anybody's been to the High Line, you've seen how they have used that space quite a bit to showcase art. So there's implications for the economic development in the area. There's benefits in terms of customers, as we talked about, coming to local businesses. There has also been shown across the country that there are tend to be increase in the value of houses that are close to or on the line, and opportunities for new housing and retail development as more and more people may want to be in this space. That also means, and we've seen this in different projects that are similar to this across the country, that there's also the potential for negative impacts of affordability. And this is something that the town, this will be an issue that each town will address once this is actually completed, the sale is completed. But for our part in trying to prepare for that time, we actually have commissioned a consultant to develop a review of similar trail developments and understand some of the challenges that have been faced. So, for instance, we're going to be looking at the Atlantic Beltway and some others, big projects that have gone through major urban areas and have had challenges around housing issues, and we're hoping to learn from them. So we're commissioned this study, excuse me, and plan to share any of the strategies that we learn about best practices for how to mitigate any negative impacts on a local community. And most importantly, we're here to listen to you and also to gather input ongoing from community members, what your ideas are, what your concerns are, and what your suggestions are to incorporate into the planning process as we go forward. This is a real quick close-up of the schools, because I mentioned not only the potential for education and programming, but also safe routes to school, which, if anybody knows, there's a potential to get grants. We have a robust safe routes to school program in Montclair, and this would be another opportunity. Here you can see this. So this is right where the Greenway would start. It's close to Hillside, to Charles Bullock, and to Glenfield, and not too far from the high school. It's also close to a lot of parks. Here are the parks that it connects throughout the trail. There's a number of parks in our area here in Montclair. This is Glen Ridge. Over here, we get into Branch Brook Park in Belleville in Newark. And here there's tremendous opportunity for access to nature and natural space across the Meadowlands, which is really difficult to get to right now. I don't know if anybody's been to the Meadowlands Environmental Center. They have fantastic little trail network there, and this would open up the Meadowlands quite a bit. Here's the close-up again in Montclair. This is where it would start, and I'll show you another map in just a minute. But here's a view of how close the parks are. Here's Brookdale Park, not that far. Glenfield Park, Earl Bloomfield Cemetery, of course, is in Bloomfield. Rand Park. So you can sort of get a sense of where this is situated in terms of the parks that could be connected locally. Here, I think this is what you were asking for, Councilman Cummings. This is more of a close-up of exactly where it comes into Montclair. And I'm happy to go back to this when we're discussing it later if you want. On the left here is the wider view. So here's Bloomfield and downtown, the bid area. And this is where the Greenway will come in right here. So this is Grove Street, and this is the, see this gray line here is the active Booton line right now. And this is the old Booton line that's not active in the neon green right here. Here's the close-up of it. Here's the active rail in purple. And you can see it's very close where it comes in to Montclair near Pine Street. That is too close for us to have access to. It would create a dangerous situation, and New Jersey Transit would not be in favor of that. So we're going to have to look a little further out. Exactly where will be something that we'll have to have a conversation in town about with our town planner and local officials and the community. But here's the Montclair Bay Street. Here's the Glen Ridge line right here. So you can see and this is Mountainside Hospital here, and the parking garage right here.
No. Thank you. Just a piece of your.
This is again, we have not made any decisions about the transaction completed and acquired, but this is just to give you an idea. So here is the, it's about a 16-foot area for the pathway for both biking and walking. There's plenty of area here for passive recreation, for getting together with your friends, your family, having a picnic, as well as there's plenty of space for natural habitat, for bioswales, and plenty of tree cover that would remain. This is actually a view in Montclair, I believe, towards Glen Ridge. This is another view in North Newark. This space right now has no greenery, no trees in it. So again, this is the potential it has in some of these communities where there is no open green space close by for people. And again, you can see the idea of planting trees for heat island effect. And another view of what it might be like going over the Meadowlands with access to recreation like kayaking and fishing and bird watching. So very briefly, Commissioner Gill emphasized what we're sort of at stake right now. I've mentioned OSI has this purchase and sale agreement. It ends at the end of this year. Norfolk Southern has secured official abandonment status. What that means is that they have permission from the Surface Transportation Board or the federal government to sell this line. If this agreement with OSI is not completed, they can sell it to whoever they want, and they can sell it in pieces to private developers. OSI has done a lot of the due diligence to make this sale ready. Engineering studies, environmental studies, surveys, all kinds of legal and permit work, all been done to really prepare this in order for it to be taken over. And we are looking to Essex and Hudson counties to do that. They have both passed general resolutions of support. And we are currently in discussions at both with the county and state officials about a funding package. And that funding package that's being discussed would not come out of our local town budgets. It would not come out of the current county budgets, nor would it come out of any of the COVID relief. So those discussions are going on right now, and they're going well. And we're very hopeful that we'll be able to close the transaction this year. But we only have a short period of time to do that. What has been very important, and Commissioner Gill has expressed this also in the past, is to hear from the constituency and residents in the region. The support from all of you, from organizations, from local officials, makes a tremendous difference and enables really our county and state and governor to go forward with this project. So we are encouraging everybody to continue showing that support, and many of you have shown support, and we thank you very much for that, both organizations and individuals. Montclair Town Council has passed a resolution of support, and I want to thank them once again for that. We have a website, Essex-Hudson-Greenway.org. There's a tab there that says support, and in that tab there is a letter currently that you can sign. It's a digital letter that individuals and organizations can sign that goes to the county executives and the county commissioners. We are in the process of going to put up a letter. You can also send to the governor's office. We are at a point now where we're engaging the governor's office in conversation and the state legislators, and we're looking forward to having people show their support to the governor's office and state officials. And you can also become a supporting organization. So there's another tab that's a list of supporters. If you are a member of a local organization and you'd like to be listed as a supporting organization for this project, you can fill out the form. It's very easy on the website and become a supporting organization. And we are continuing to do outreach and community outreach. Doing this kind of community engagement work is critical to moving the project forward, but also to ensuring that when we get to the next phase of this, that we've built a scaffolding of connections with community members, with local officials, with community-based organizations, so that we can really hear from people about what you want in this space, what are your concerns in this space, and what could really reflect the identity of each of the local communities along the corridor. So we're building that base, that foundation for communication if you have an organization that would like to work with us or would like another presentation, I encourage you to reach out to our community engagement manager, Lauren Rushing. Here is her email. And if you don't remember this, you can always get in touch with us through the website, the Essex-Hudson Greenway.org website. So we hope you'll make your voice heard in support of the project. We really have a very short time period to make this happen before this agreement runs out and the railroad then has the ability to sell this off. And we really will lose what's a once in a lifetime opportunity to make this a greenway. So again, here is the Essex-Hudson Greenway.org website. It's great. It's got some great drone footage. You can sign up to get updates, and you can also leave comments. Here is my email. You can reach out to me directly with any questions. And here is Lauren Rushing, our community engagement manager's email as well. Okay.
Councilman, I just wanted to put one final point on that, just for everyone who's out there tonight too. This is not a either or type of proposition. So there are plenty of things that we know we need to fund across the board. This acquisition does not get in the way of funding a lot of the other things that the county needs to do. So I know that question hasn't been raised yet directly, but it is a question that I get a lot, from across the board. Is why would we do this project versus another project? This is really not that type of situation. This is a situation where we have the opportunity to potentially figure out a way to maybe finance the acquisition, and at the same time, maintain our commitments to from a county perspective, to our county parks. In particular, our county programming that happens here, specifically in Montclair, and that's important, I think, for all of us to understand.
Brendan, thank you very much for that. And one of the things, what I really like to do real quick is I want to make sure I welcome Senator Nia Gill for joining us. I really appreciate you coming on to participate and hear about this program. But I think right now, what I want to do is get to some of the questions. And so please ask anyone to submit your questions into the chat. And those who are on, please make sure that you are muted so that we can really hear everybody who wants to speak. And so one of the questions and one of the concerns, when I say concerns that I think is really important, is we've kind of been down this road before and with Midtown Direct, which came in. And so the question that I'm gonna present to you is one that basically William Scott, who many people are aware of, has given to me directly. And I think, Brendan, you probably may be better for this, but Deb, we had this conversation as well. And that's like, considering what happened with the Montclair Connection, Mountainside Hospital, we lost a very large number of residents in affordable housing. So as much as this is on me too, the question that Mr. Scott has, what protections will be in place to prevent this project from having the same effect? Now I say that, Deb, in terms of a lot of that is on us, the town council, and not you, but it is something that I'd like to know, how are you all looking at that? Because you mentioned a consultant. And if you can answer that question as best you can, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I can answer it for what we're doing, but you're right. We are putting this project together. We're hoping that we'll be successful in getting it acquired. And then there needs to be discussions with each of the towns on what this is going to look like as it develops. For our part of this, we are aware there are other trails, as I said, that have faced this same issue. This is not a new issue. We know that in some communities, it brings up the issue of housing. It brings up the issue of rent increases or new developments that might result in people being, being pushed out of a neighborhood in some cases across the country. So we're certainly aware that this has happened in other areas. And I think that, first of all, the most important thing is to start as early as possible these discussions. So I think it's great that we're having this discussion now, and that making the community and local officials aware of that. This discussion can happen now. We have brought on a consultant, a national firm that does these kind of private public governance structures for these very big projects like the Atlantic Beltway, which is much even bigger than this, and has gone through a lot of experience with this. And we've asked them specifically to give us examples of how this has affected the local impact in the neighborhood, and to give us strategies where they have been able to mitigate the negative effect. So what kind of strategies, what kind of zoning, what kind of rent ordinances, what kind of agreements with developers. We want to learn from that, and we're going to share that with everybody as soon as we have it. And
Deborah?
Yeah.
Deborah, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm gonna jump in here. I think I think that is the key question, Councilman, and I want to be very clear on this. I would not be supporting this project if I thought that we couldn't make both of these things work. That if this project was in any way a threat to protecting affordable housing in our community, if this project in any way raised issues of potential gentrification that we cannot address, and I just flat out wouldn't be supporting it. The steps that Deborah has listed are the steps that the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition are taking, to directly make sure that this project is put together and done in complete collaboration, with the community that it starts in. As a practical matter, the line itself and the piece that's in Montclair, as we said, whether it's developed with a regional approach, like the one that many of us have been advocating for many years, or it's done in an individual approach, there's going to be some development around this piece of the line, and it's very different than in my opinion than the as a lifelong resident in the Montclair connection or an issue like that, meaning that this is a project that has benefits both not only for the immediate neighborhood that it's in, but for the entire community. And the issue of making sure that we protect affordable housing, protect the integrity of the community, which is important to me, has to be done at the township level in conjunction with what we're doing here. And I think we can do both. I firmly believe that we can do both.
And I think we can, but it also brings up the importance of things like rent control. And more importantly, I think it does put the pressure on us as council people to make sure that, things are in place. But I think, so right off the top of my mind, what I'd like to do, and Deborah, you mentioned, I'd love to be able to have direct access to the consultant so that the groups who are represented, that do a lot of representing with the housing in Montclair, can hear what they did before, so they can so then that puts us in a position where we would know what pitfalls or what areas there are that we can do things to make sure that we don't make the same mistakes if there were mistakes made in other locations. Okay. I do think that when you bring more people to Montclair, home prices are going to rise and rent's going to go up. So how do we mitigate that, but in a manner that, we all know that the gentrification has come. So I just think, for me, listening to what you said tonight, that consultant, and not in a forum such big as this, but one with the key stakeholders who have been involved in housing in the township so that we can kind of get an idea. Then I think it's on me, I mean, this is in the fourth ward, to present that to the community to keep them informed, which was the number one goal tonight. I think this was one where after participating in the earlier conversation that Deb had community-wide, immediately I was like, okay, let's do something fourth ward centric. So we know where the location is. We have an idea that there's a consultant that'll be a part of it. So now let's take a deep breath and figure out, okay, what is our next steps? And for me, the first step was bringing you, Deb, which I really appreciate you coming. Second step, having Brendan a part of it as well, because this is a county project. And then, I mean, at the end of the day, the sale hasn't gone through yet.
Right.
And so we, you know, as much as I think it will, we need to be prepared. And so there's questions like, when will this start? Where will it start? You know, so there's a lot more to go as we move forward. And so I just want to thank you, Deb, for coming on and giving that presentation, and also throwing it to people. If you have questions, please send them out. If not, we can, you know, you can send them to me. I will be sending out a URL for the YouTube that'll be on this. And I think this was an easy question for you, Deb. This is from Jessica Sporn of Vanguard Theater. And her real question was about how much of this will be above ground and below ground, or do you even have an idea, which I think will be difficult, but do you all have an idea of that, to that question?
Yeah, actually, we do. We have a map of it. The railroad goes flat, but the land around it goes up and down. So there's plenty of it that's below grade, meaning below the street level. And then there's areas that are above it. There's about 19 bridges, goes over highways and 2 rivers. So we have a map. I can share it with you as well. But we know exactly where it goes below and above ground. Where it's at street level will be the most obvious access points. Where it is in Montclair, it's at street level when it hits Pine Street. But when it goes towards Mountainside Meridian Hospital, it dips down below grade. So
Okay.
we'll have to be thinking about how to make access easy at that point.
Okay. Well, Deb, listen, I just want to say thank you again.
Sure.
I really appreciate it. You can hang around as we get
Yeah.
through some other things that we're about to talk about. But I just really appreciate it. And Commissioner Gill, thank you too for coming on and putting your, you know, giving us input from the county, because I think, you know, again, we will be talking a lot more for sure. So
Appreciate
thank
it.
you all. Yep.
Thank you for having me. And I would just say again that I saw a question, Councilman, in the chat box. I believe, Deborah, the map is out on the website. So if you Google the Essex-Hudson Greenway, you can. There's a lot of great information on that website already about the project. So I know we dropped it in the chat. I think I saw someone asked if they could see a map. The actual map of the line is there, and lots of good information that, Councilman, if you reach out, we're happy to provide to any of your constituents who need it.
All right. Thank you, Brendan. I really appreciate it, man. And so that's the great thing, right? So we are kind of so much aware of what we're doing. And next, what I'm going to jump to is really some updates. This will not be very long, just real simple. First one I want to give you an update on is Nishuane Park and Canterbury Park. So previous council, and shout out to Dr. Baskerville, they had already got funding to get Nishuane Park and Canterbury Park upgraded. That upgrades include new pathways, new benches, basketball courts redone, some trees being planted. So you'll see those upgrades. And again, COVID coming in, everything was delayed. So I'm not going to sit here and say this is something this council did. It was already approved by previous council, and we're going to get that work started probably close to the end of the summer, as we get through the budgetary process to get through some of the things that need to be done there. If you have any questions about that, please send them out, because I just want to be very upfront that those parks will get done in 2021. Next thing that I said we talk about, there's been a lot of discussion around Glenfield Park and the establishment of the Glenfield Conservancy. Glenfield Conservancy is an organization that I had a meeting with back in January. in which they had conversations about some of the things that they wanted to do. They felt the park could use some sprucing up, and I agreed with them. And so over time, we've had a couple of conversations that I say went south, and when it went south in a manner that, there are already some very strong stakeholders that have been a part of Glenfield Park in the community. And those stakeholders would include the Glenfield Task Force, Grassroots, Montclair Cobras, MNDC, all of these organizations that have had programs at the park way before any other organization came. And I'm going back 50, 60 years. So starting as soon as I became a counselor, one of the things that we actually started having conversations on was getting the park redone, or getting it done using funds and working with the county. And so those organizations that I mentioned, leadership, have done a walkthrough, have put together some planning of what we think will be areas. If you look at the back area, definitely getting the sheds redone in the pavilion area, some of the walkways. We did look through the Glen, getting the Glen area resurfaced with some lightings, but also considering how can we make the Glen area somewhat of a destination, right? Are there some things that can be done there to improve its look and feel? So just to give you that quick update, I just want to let you know, those are conversations that have been had and that we're definitely looking at to do as we move forward. If I can, I want to also bring up some programs that are going to be going on over the next few days. So let me share my screen, make sure none of my stuff up here that you guys don't need to see is up. And then that's my beautiful family. Sorry about that. But I want to start out with, on Thursday, getting the facts on the vax. This is a virtual town hall between MFEE. The individuals on it, you can see Dr. Chris Purnell, Dr. Renee Baskerville, Dr. Tyrone Mincy, and I believe this program is going to be hosted by the Reverend Craig Dunn. So, Thursday at 7:30 p.m., we all know that there's been a lot of talk about the impact of COVID in the Black community, questions about the vaccine. So here's an opportunity for individuals to get those questions, asked, and also be a part of what I consider to be, a very important conversation. Many of you also know last weekend, there was a town-wide park cleanup. I want to thank everyone who was at Nishuane, heard all about the great work down at Canterbury. When I started at 9 o'clock in the morning, I thought I would be able to get away, but I couldn't. But I think we did a great job. This was a town-wide effort. Really, really went well. I think everybody was happy with it. But what I want to add to next step is on May 1st, Arbor Day, if you're looking for a tree for your house or any place else, the township is giving a free tree giveaway, and Nishuane between 9:30 to noon. This is something I've partnered up with Mayor Spiller on, and I think this is a great opportunity to kind of, make sure we stay with the environment. More information on this will be available. You can go to the Montclair Environmental Commission to get that information. But this is going to be something that I think, again, helps us do what we try to do always in Montclair, make our community a little bit better, a little bit greener. So those are two events that I think I wanted to really give you some information about. And then what I consider, before I get to talk to Zena, one of the things that I've been able to do is really have conversations with a lot of community areas in Montclair about the cleanup of the community. So with the support of the township, I'm prepared to announce what I'm calling the Fourth Ward Clean Team. The Clean Team is going to consist of high school seniors who live in Montclair, and they were responsible for cleaning up streets in the Fourth Ward every Saturday from 9 a.m. to noon, starting June 7th to August 12th. Clean Team members will be paid an hourly rate of $15 an hour. They're going to be here to clean up. So South End Business District, I already know Zena's going to be asking me, when can they be here? So this is something, residents of the Fourth Ward, you have a street or you want your street clean, please, you email me directly, reach out to me, and the Clean Team will get set up. We're putting them on a schedule. We're doing it on Saturdays at this time because they'll have enough time as they pick up the garbage or whatever they get on there to drop it off up at Town Hall, or not Town Hall, up in North Fulton Street Town Yard, where they have all the, where the garbage is still open. So think about that. I think this is a great opportunity. If you have some teenagers who will be looking to work, have them reach out to me. I've got a committed community group who will be doing the actual interviews. So therefore, to be open to anybody, but the main thing, Fourth Ward resident, high school student. And I'm sure my other counselors will be thinking the same thing. So I think this will be something that, hopefully others will do, similar to the way Dr. Baskerville started off with the community meetings. I'm hoping the clean team is something that gets shared across everywhere. So I want you to really think about that, because those are the things that I think I wanted to just get out there today. But I'm really excited about the clean team. That is it. And now I'm getting the opportunity to bring in, when you do the job as a counselor, oftentimes you get to meet a lot of people, but you also have to work with a lot of people. And if you know Zena the way I know Zena, she keeps you on your toes. But I have to really applaud her for her efforts that she's been doing in the South End Business District. She is really, between starting up Moso Cafe and now Mosaria Pizza and, the pop-up shop and just getting on me every day about something not being clean. It's a dialogue that we have. And so, Zena, I just wanted to make sure that I gave you an opportunity to talk about the things that you have done, but also let folks know some of the things that you may want to do, and how, in fact, you came in and really became a dynamo. So, everyone, please, Zena Floyd, can you take the floor and speak?
Thank you, Councilman Cummings. Thank you very much for inviting me. I truly appreciate the opportunity. And, it's actually even an honor to be here with Councilman Russo and Renee and Dr. Baskerville, who has clearly been a trailblazer in this community for decades prior to me, and tall order to try to follow, but I'm going to give it my best shot, knowing that I have the support of all of you with this project. So we opened up Cafe Moso, actually, ironically enough, not because my husband and I decided that we wanted to spend 17 hours a day, 7 days a week running a business, but because we are a resident of the South End. My husband's been a resident of Montclair from birth, and so we really support the project of making sure that the history of South End stays what it is. And I think that it's kind of fading a little bit. So the best way to do that was to open up a restaurant. We thought that that would be a way to pull the community together. And I can't tell you how many people that actually come to Cafe Moso now tell us that they didn't even know that this side of town was a part of Montclair. Very disheartening, considering the fact that we do call it the South End Village, and we added village to it because I think of all of the communities in Montclair, we are the most diversified and very much a family community and a young family community. Many people that move to New York, they start here on this side of town. So Cafe Moso was to kind of bring everybody together. And then since then, we have also opened up Mosaria Pizza, which is up the block, but that was because Amora left. And we wanted to make sure that we didn't keep vacant spaces. Thank you, Dr. Baskerville, for the support as well over the weekend. But really, truthfully, the goal here is for 3 things. One is to beautify the South End as much as we can, meaning, and Councilman Cummings has been very supportive with that. Commissioner Gill has considered some things in the area. And Councilman Russo has also been a huge supporter as well. And Dr. Baskerville, as you know, obviously just did the weekend project and the cleaning. And even though she's not our councilwoman, she is a pillar and a powerful influence in this area. So for me, my 3 goals for opening up Cafe Moso initially was to make sure we brought the community to this side of town. But more importantly, we also have to beautify it. We'd like to put lamp posts. We'd like to obviously, and I've spoken with Councilman Cummings about this. This is very primitive, but potentially looking at diagonal parking to reduce the traffic that goes through as fast as it does. And with doing that, we can also hopefully do a bike lane, which I think, Deborah, what you're doing is phenomenal. and such perfect timing because people are so much more drawn to being outside, even as far as restaurants are concerned. We want to be outside. Nobody wants to be inside after what we went through with 2020. So if you could ever get this through, this is the best time to do it. But more importantly, the last thing with me is to keep the history of the South End, and not just through the families and the communities that have been here, but a destination location that actually talks about it for the families that have been here. Whether it's across the street in this little triangle area, or I've been working as a educational coach for high school students with GSA with Dr. Reverend Shelton, and Kincaid is a vacant space in the back that we're looking at doing Sweet Roots, which would be an ice cream and produce store run and created by high school students. They're actually going through the entire process of an architectural design, the layout, what the process is that takes place with it, and hopefully that will come to fruition for next year. That would be super exciting for us. Like I said before, really quickly, and I won't hold everyone, the South End is a destination location without a doubt. Historically, it was the mecca of professional and working class Black families, and it was self-sustaining. We have quite a few vacant spaces now, and so my goal with that is to make sure that people value the community through parklets and like I said, beautifying the area, and more importantly, bringing viable businesses to the area that will help to keep it growing and keep the historical factor in place. So again, Councilman Cummings, thank you so much. We still have a lot of work to do, and I am a pain in the neck, but I do it because I really believe in this area and I believe in the community and I love Montclair. So, and one last thing I want to say, I'm sorry, and I forgot to mention this. Jason Gleason of the Montclair Bid. So he reached out to me last year. He is amazing. And I don't know if he's still on with us or not, but he has done a phenomenal job. He is, Mayor Spiller included me with the COVID task force for small businesses. And Jason has been a spearheader of making sure that SEVA, which is the South End Village Association, and Downtown Montclair Bid, we work together to support the businesses as a whole. So wherever you see Shop, Eat, Repeat, I just took out an ad in Montclair Local. We include all of our business districts as much as we can. And I have to thank Jason because he has been a wealth of resource and information for me and really, really supportive in terms of just bringing all the businesses of Montclair as a whole together. So Jason, thank you for that. And Councilman Cummings, thank you for having me.
No problem, Zena. And I want to say, when she says she can be a pain in the butt, trust me, she can be a pain. But that's why you take the job, you got to be prepared for it, right? But what I want to do is end this call, because I know I'm probably not the only one who's been zoomed out today. This is like a consistent thing that happens. But if you're from Montclair, and Zena mentioned the Fourth Ward, but if you're from Montclair, you will know the name Mr. Young. Yes. And Mr. Young was a barber in town who I used to get my hair cut at 5:30, 6 a.m. in the morning. Mr. Young lived in Brooklyn, New York, but he was here at 5:30 every morning, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. He took off Wednesdays and Sundays. And there's not a Black man who grew up in Montclair who did not or would not or don't know Mr. Young. And he ran the barbershop the way, when I moved away and went to school and realized, oh no, you mean you don't do appointments? I got to wait in line. It was just an eye-opening experience, but also the way he ran his shop. It was professional. It was clean. Conversation was always about the town. And so to honor Mr. Young, on June 5th, weekend of the African American Heritage Day Parade, we're going to put up a plaque on a pillar, on a cement pillar in the park that's between at the corner of Orange and Cedar. And this is going to be something that's very special to me, but also special to a lot of people in town. And I just wanted to make that announcement because, you don't think of a barber as, like a person who would just make you, inspire you. But Mr. Young inspired me. He gave me, from the time I was literally 7, the feeling and just the professional and just the way he carried himself. He wasn't a parent, but he was a dad. You know, there's not, you know, he was someone who we all looked up to. And so I just hope that you all can really understand through my voice that this man is respected by all. And you'll see that when we come out and we actually put that plaque up, because there is no way that I figure that anybody who had such an impact on our town would not be honored or should not be honored. And ironically, it'll be directly across the street from Zena's restaurant. And, you know, so, you know, of course, it's still Mr. Young's World of Beauty, run by Mark Williams, is still there. So this is just our way of continuing that legacy that Zena talked about that she wants to do, right? And so this is a step. And so as we move forward, please, everybody in here, make sure that you go down there and see Zena. Moso's open. Go give Mosaria, get that pizza. And then as things pop up, you know, we still have a lot of work to do, but I know we're much further ahead now than we were when I first got into this seat. And I think we'll be much further in the future. So everyone on here, thank you for showing up. I think we had over 60 people at one point. It's my pledge to you to continue these meetings at least every 2 months, specifically while we're in COVID. Once we get out of COVID and we could do it in person, but, you know, send me the things that, you know, you think about that you want to have conversations about, because I'm not eyes and ears. The only reason I came up with the clean team, to be honest with you, because some of the work I do in Hillside, New Jersey, where the mayor there started a clean team. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with copying people, nothing at all. And, you know, and so I just urge you to please keep me on my toes. Let me know what you need. Let me know where things that I can do. And don't forget, April 29th, 7:30, Town Hall, you know, learn the facts about COVID. Okay, everybody? You're on my email address, phone number, everything. I try to respond ASAP. And if I don't respond, trust me, it's because something else was going on. So I just want to say thank you for showing up. All of my elected officials, thank you for coming on. And trust me, we'll make sure that Deb, when she gets that consultant, that'll be a part of the next conversation, okay? So let's just keep it going, people. And everyone have a wonderful week. And I look forward to seeing you in the road, all right? Take care. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Good night. Good night, Renee. Good
Bob,
night,
you always
Julia,
get
Scott.
you always get the last
Deborah.
word in, Bob.